them early morning after the cow. Can I have one? My wife said, that cow looks like it's ready to the and my husband bell.
Fellow Rotarians and guests, it's just have your attention, please. We're going to move on with our program now, and it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, my good friend Bill Forbes. I got to know Bill from our Saturday morning coffee rides. Bill is an avid cyclist, as I am, and that's a group that's actually organized by our fellow Rotarian Joe Lazat. And in any event, getting to know Bill and his background, Joe thought that some of the insights that Bill might be able to offer on a fairly important question of public policy and the economics of our province, that Bill would have the ability to offer some insights in that area. Bill spent 43 years in the pipeline business, which, as we all know, is kind of vital to Alberta's economic health. 19 of those years with Enbridge Canada, and he retired in 2023. He's a professional engineer, a graduate of the University of Saskatchewan. In recent years, most of his work related to pipeline integrity, most importantly, preventing spills of the oil, largely oil that run in the pipelines of Enbridge Canada. There's been a lot of discussion, obviously, in recent months about the importance of diversifying our transportation infrastructure for petroleum products. So the question of how we are going to actually get to the point where we can have more pipeline capacity so we can sell more oil to the world is obviously on people's minds. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Bill to talk a little bit about his work with Enbridge and how he thinks it might impact those developments. Bill?
So how much time do I have here?
Oh, let's say, we usually look for 20 minutes, 20 to
Okay.
30 minutes.
Okay,
But
sure.
I'm sure that this might well be a topic people are interested in staying a little longer for.
All right then. Get organized here. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences, and first of all, I'll quickly talk about been in the business for 40 years, as Rob has said. 20 years was in natural gas pipeline business, and the last half was in oil pipeline business. So as I say to people, I've moved over to the dark side in the last half of my career. So it's been very, very interesting, all this stuff, and quite very much involved in the process safety, it's called, in the latter part of my career, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So what we worry about in the pipeline business is potential for error in our company is disastrous, and I'll talk about some examples here of what that could be and what we need to do to operate safely. And what we operate safely in is to keep or maintain our social license. It can be lost quite easily, and Enbridge almost did that about 10 years ago. And this is a story of a recovery from coming to the verge of losing our social license. So I'm going to talk quickly in my presentation. First of all, just like to do in past career was talk a bit about a values moment, just some interesting topic for us, define what we mean by social license, talking about how Enbridge became a high reliability organization and what that is. If I have time, I'll maybe start on this road. If not, I'll get cut off, but I can talk about how all the oil and gas moves in North America and how that applies to all the new pipeline opportunities, roadblocks, and of course, because I'm talking my bias. So let me start with this. It's a great book by the name of Charles Duhigg, who talks about the power of a habit. And it basically talks about how we live our daily life, and we make a whole bunch of habits to move forward. We make a habit of how we brush our teeth, we make a habit of how we have a shower, all these habits. And if we had to think about each habit as what do I need to wash in the shower, my head, then my ear, then my leg, we'd just be so much information, we'd be overwhelmed. So your body, your mind turns it into a habit and makes it instant and quick, and you're over and you don't even think about your shower. You don't think about how you brush your teeth. You don't think of these things. So he says that works in business as well as your personal life. And to have a successful habit, he says here, you need to have a cue or trigger to put your mind in that auto mode. Then you need some sort of routine, which is really your habit. And then you need a reward at the end of it to make you come back and do that habit again. So this particular habit I had, more so when I was working, was I would go for a jog every morning. And so what my trigger in the morning was, as soon as that alarm clock went off, summer, spring, fall, winter, I'd slam the alarm clock, jump out of bed, get on my running gear and go out the door and run a little 5K loop around our neighborhood, probably around by your house too. And then, so that was my routine that I had. It could be physical, mental, or emotional routine. My reward when I got back, I'll have to admit, was the endorphins that I had in my system from that run. I was just pumped right up and had a nice cold shower and off to work. I felt like $1 million. So that was my habit. So what Charles Duhigg says, that's great. Now let's say I want to develop a new habit, like I'm struggling to do now. I need to do some strength training because as I get old, my body shrinks and things don't work very well. So how can I get a new habit that's as successful as my jogging habit? Well, he says that you need to, different routine, I need to keep the same cue and trigger and the same reward. I'll be more successful adopting that habit. For instance, if I decide at night I want to go and weight lift in my basement, it's not going to happen. I'm going to do 1 or 2 and then it's going to fizzle out. What I need to do, if I want to leverage this habit, use the same trigger, my alarm clock in the morning. So every second day, the alarm clock goes off. Instead of going out to jog, I'll go downstairs and lift weights. So I've got the same cue, I've got a different routine, and the same reward. So what he says in that type of function, that I'll be more successful establishing a strength training routine, rather than trying to squeeze it on the weekend or something, and it'll go on for a couple days and it'll be gone. So that's his theory, and he says that works both personal life and in your business life. So I'm going to show you how we applied this at Enbridge. So we'll talk about social license. And basically, when I started in the business, once the regulator gave you approval to build a pipeline, then you went ahead and did it. You basically only had to please the landowners, and you worked with the landowners, or the government or regulatory agency would hear from the landowners and complain to the pipeline company, and things are resolved quickly. Over the years, we adopted the social license. It's beyond the landowners now, but come to think about it, really pipeline companies only lease the land from the landowners. We don't buy it. So they are our tenants, so we have to keep them happy. But these days, it's more than just the tenants. It's the people that are worried about the environment and global change and everything. So we're inundated by hundreds and hundreds of people wanting us to have a strong social license and have the ability to operate the pipeline safely and protect as many things as we can protect with that. So we could, so I guess that's that. So it's an informal contract we have with the public. And I'll talk a little bit about pipeline safety here. And I don't know if people are familiar with this term called the bathtub curve. Let's apply this to your car, for instance. In a bathtub curve, on the left-hand side, you have the failure rate. Across the bottom is time. And what happens when you buy a brand new car, you have what we call the break-in phase. And that's when you have factory defects, and maybe an airbag doesn't work, or a bolt falls off your car.